Time now for another edition of Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Bradley Meyer at the Okoboji Wellness Clinic. Dr. Meyer, there is so much exciting stuff going on in the medical community.
Amen to that.
Yeah. You're going to talk about TruDOSE today, one of those exciting things.
Yeah, absolutely. We touched on it last week, Dave, and the human being can be a bit of a, when you look at it and all these mechanisms going on, you think about the complexity. What we like to try to do is to identify those pillars of one's physiology, that complexity, and simplify it as much as we can. In one area right now that is really getting some focus, and I think it's been the last 3 to 4 years, especially the immune system, with COVID coming around, and the immune system has been one of those things of quite a bit of complexity of how do we really optimize that immune health. And again, the basics of you think of your immune system is your body's ability to not only maintain health and wellness and balance, but it's doing so through the bone marrow, through platelets, through, you think of white blood cells, macrophages, neutrophils. When it comes down to it, outside of eating healthy, which is huge for that, and being on, taking different approaches that optimize oxygen and metabolism, which we do a lot of at the Okoboji Wellness Clinic, the immune system has been this enigma of like how, once it's suppressed, for instance, when folks have conditions like autoimmune disease where the body starts attacking itself, these are things like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, things like that, or they just keep getting sick all the time, or cancers, for instance. The complexity of that and how do we address that is a big question. And again, one big way to do it is really bolstering that mitochondria, which is that energy source, that battery, which is in each one of us that we inherit from our mom. And so we've talked about that over the months and years of how we recharge that mitochondria. We get that to optimize better. And when we do, that can really help our immune system. But we want a robust immune system because when our immune system is robust, we are not essentially getting sick. We've got more energy. And so a more unique way to approach that, and we talked about it last week, is through platelet therapy. And this is through the treatment that we are implementing here at the Okoboji Wellness Clinic called TruDOSE. And this therapy it's typically, when we think of platelets, as we talked last week, we think about blood clotting. And that's just used to, those platelets are used to clot. But what we found, and you can do PubMed searches on platelets and the immune system, platelets and mitochondria, platelets and white blood cell count, and as we talked about last week, they are an activator. They're like the fire department going out and identifying where there's trauma throughout the body. And this impacts the immune system in a great way. So I'm just so excited to have this approach that we do here, which it's about maybe about an hour and a half to 2 hours long, where we take it's a blood draw, and then we spin the blood, and then we put platelet-rich plasma. We infuse that back in, and that is, in that process, working to go find the next mission to on this healing pathway. So it's like we always talk about layers of the onion, Dave, and the platelets do the work. They know where they need to go and to find this wounding. I show a picture of Tapley Holland, who helped create this treatment. This was his brainchild. his son took a baseball as we head into baseball season here real soon. He was pitching down in Texas, and he took a shot to the eye and had some absolute tremendous swelling. I thought that he might lose his vision. His son took a TruDOSE treatment a couple days after the baseball to the orbit, where he fractured some bones in that orbit, in that eye socket. And the before and after pictures 1 week later, the bruising's gone, the swelling's gone. It is incredible after one TruDOSE treatment. So I would show that to our guests. I'm like, imagine you see what's happening here on the outside, imagining what is happening on the inside. And so it's a really exciting approach outside of the mitochondrial oxygen enhancement therapies that we do here, like ozone and hyperbaric therapy at the Okoboji Wellness Clinic. But if you think of wherever there is trauma in the body, whether that is anxiety, stress, there was a mental stressor or a physical stressor, we can get stuck into these inflammatory loops. And what's put out is these things called cell danger response. And what happens when these platelets go back in, they're identifying these areas that are stuck in these loops, these cell danger response regions, and it is going to these areas to work on them. Another example, this weekend, I was at Henry, my son's basketball game, and I twisted my ankle really bad, and the rest of the day I could barely put any weight on it. And I had gotten the TruDOSE therapy myself on Friday, and I thought, I'm just going to hop in that hyperbaric chamber. I thought about that Saturday night, and I'm like, wait a second, I got TruDOSE on Friday. That's platelet activation therapy boosting that immune system. Let's see what happens by Sunday morning. And Sunday morning rolled around. I was able to walk on that ankle, no limping, and I'm like, that's phenomenal. These treatments, it's typically about every 5 to 6 to 8 weeks is the treatment window, and most folks end up doing about 5 to 6 total. But I encourage you, if anybody that's got any wounding, to think of any wounding to any part of your body, neurologic wounding, brain wounding, wounding of the lungs to digestion. You very well could be a good candidate for this approach. Is it something that we always address right out of the chute? You can go right to it, but a lot of times when folks come in, we want to take a big picture look at things first and identify how we can clean some areas up in the system, and then that TruDOSE has a greater chance for success moving forward. But the big teeter-totter, Dave, is that the big thing that I always like to come back to. Just imagine that teeter-totter on the playground, and on one end is all the toxins, the toxin load. It's the stressors on the body, from the environmental toxins to even stress. Stress is a toxin. It's hard on the body. So what that ends up doing is pushes down on one end, and then you've got your fulcrum in the middle, and the other end is your biologic systems. This is your mitochondria, your detox system, your liver, your kidneys, your brain, your heart, your lungs. When those are functioning really well, they're able to keep the toxins in balance. So the toxins aren't weighing down heavily on one side because the biologic systems are doing their job. And so when things start to not do their job as well, this is when we see mitochondrial function decrease, that energy-making capacity of the body decrease. We also see things like the immune system not working quite as well. So if we can do some things, as we talked last week a little bit about that push, when we start to get folks on board with their wellness journey, we're looking at movement, nutrition changes, what are the toxins that we need to avoid, that we need to help get out of the body. But if we sit down and we identify those, then we're well off to starting this journey and having it be a very successful. Well, we take that little push, we give that push like the dad with the daughter that just got rid of the training wheels, and we do that little push with some things like therapies that are activating our immune system, our mitochondria, our body's ability to make energy and detox, then that child or that individual that comes in develops enough momentum when we do a couple of these therapies with it, targeted therapies that are specific to that individual. They're able to maintain that momentum on them by themselves and continue down the pathway without the continued push from mom or dad to maintain that momentum and that healing progress.
Dr. Meyer, we're already out of time, but I want to run this by you real quick here. I know you know this story. Country singer Phil Vassar utilized hyperbaric chamber treatments as a key component of his recovery following a severe 2023 health crisis where he died twice due to a heart attack. Vassar suffered a massive heart attack that resulted in him having no heartbeat for 30 minutes on multiple occasions. He credits hyperbaric oxygen therapy alongside a year of rehab, exercising, and retraining himself to play the piano. Unbelievable story.
Wow, that's a testament, and that shows the body's capacity to heal on its own when you give it the right support. And, you know, that heart is mitochondrial rich, and we do know that the hyperbaric therapy is a major mitochondrial enhancer. And so it's what heart doesn't love optimized ATP, mitochondrial function, and oxygen, which that's achieved through hyperbaric therapy. Yeah, that sounds like a recipe for some really good things. Yeah. In his case, these are the things, Dave, that these testimonials are the things that really count. Because, again, these are things that aren't taught to, as myself as a traditionally trained doctor, we weren't taught about applying many of these treatments the way that they can be applied in the whole body regenerative wellness prevention longevity path. One last point on that matter is I have a gal that this is just a really fun hope story, that she has had 3 to 4 concussions. She's probably in her early 40s. And every time you get a concussion, you're more likely, it takes less trauma to the head to have a response that is inflammatory or getting that individual a set of symptoms like headache, fatigue, sensitivity to light, those kinds of things. And so she just had the back of the car door on the back of the minivan hit the head, and not real hard, but that was enough because of these prior concussions over the years, was enough for her to really be symptomatic. And she shared with me over the years, because of these multiple head traumas, that she's in a job where she has to use her brain a lot and a lot of analytical calculations and type things. And she actually has struggled with brain fog over the years, ever since she had these traumas to the head. And she came in, and she is like on her 8th or 9th hyperbaric treatment. After one treatment, and this is after multiple prior concussions, her headache started to resolve, and she shared with me that over the course of the next several treatments, the brain fog has been getting better, which has affected her mood positively, because if you have brain fog and you're not feeling well, that can affect your mood. It can make you anxious. And her question was like, oh my goodness, I've suffered with this for so many years, and where have you been all my life, hyperbarics? And it's been here. And so she's so excited to go out and share that good news with other folks. She's thinking of all the other people out there that have not heard of hyperbaric therapy, for instance, and then you get the testimonial from that individual with the heart condition that made that part of his recovery story. Again, it's sharing the good news out there, because there's so much that can be done that is just not in everybody's mainstream vernacular. It doesn't jump to the top of their list, as it didn't jump to the top of my list 4 to 5 years ago, when I barely had heard of the word hyperbaric therapy, or ozone therapy for that matter. So just remember, be an advocate for yourself, and do the research. Look, there's always answers out there. That body is an incredible machine that it's a beautiful gift from God that wants to get on that healing pathway. So let's make it possible.
Absolutely. Amazing stuff happening in medicine. Thrive, not just survive. That's the motto at Okoboji Wellness Clinic. Dr. Meyer, how can folks come see you or at least talk to you?
Yeah, just give us a call, 712-339-6024. You can set up an appointment, which is that initial visit's an hour long, but many times that discovery call is a great place to start. And complimentary with Molly Avery, Mychal Sheridan, myself, we all do them. Mychal Sheridan does reflexive brain work. Molly Avery is a functional nutrition guru, so she is able to take folks on the journey, the wellness journey as well. And we all work collaboratively, and we're all happy to take those complimentary phone calls, 15 minutes, and then we can get you started on your journey. We're at 3305 Berquist Avenue off Highway 71 in Spirit Lake. So look forward to the journey ahead, working with some new faces. And we had one gal in yesterday, and she just said what a blessing it was to be in our IV room. One of our other patients said a prayer over her, and it was very powerful. It's a powerful space in the sense that there's so many people there wanting to feel better that it's infectious. Folks sharing their good news stories. So it's like the old barber shop or my grandparents at Knutson's Gifts in Eagle Grove years ago. It was the place to commune, and when people are together meeting and wanting healing, it's a beautiful. It's hard to put words onto it, Dave, but it's a blessing to be a part of that.
Super cool. Dr. Meyer, always a pleasure. Have a great day. We'll chat again next Wednesday.
Thank you. Be well, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Meyer. Dr. Bradley Meyer at the Okoboji Wellness Clinic. Again, you can find out more at okobojivellnessclinic.com.